Where did the first idea come from that, okay, I have to make a film, this is what I will make and shoot on an iPhone?
Using an iPhone is great because just for a story like this, one needs a very flexible medium.
Right.
We're talking about dye. The iPhone can be put in a waterproof case and put underwater.
Right, yeah.
It can be put in the dye. It can be used to shoot the dye. It's such a flexible medium. So I thought that maybe this is a good training ground.
So you all had mentors. Tell me, who was your mentor and what is the best advice that came from your mentor?
My mentor was Konkana Singh Sharma.
Nice, yeah. What would you like to tell the next generation of MAMI Select shot on an iPhone?
I don't think there should be any fear around the fact that fear or judgment around the fact that this is
It's
a
on
phone.
phone, right.
Sometimes it can be fear because you like, what are these technology? Like, there's a lot you can do with the iPhone, lot of gears, lot of, apps, lot of things you can explore in it.
What do mentors, can you call them midway? Like, what do mentors exactly do for you?
My mentor was Vikramaditya Motwane.
Woo!
And what an incredible mentor. And the biggest thing I learned from him, and which I think was such, he held on to it so incredibly, was taking one thread and running with it. Like that, having that clarity.
You gave them a great advice earlier that, Bluetooth and the focus pulling thing. Anything else do you want to tell that they can use when they are filming, they are starting out?
So I think there's so many modes on an iPhone. The slow motion mode, the image stabilization is just amazing. So I think it's extremely liberating as a filmmaker, and it allows us as a filmmaker who are forced to shoot so many pages a day to shoot very fast.
Guys, welcome to Bollywood Hungama. We are putting this on Bollywood Hungama, and I have seen all the 4 films. Apple was kind enough to give me that access, and this is for MAMI Select. It's filmed on iPhone, and I firstly would request you to do a short introduction. What is your film called, and what's your name?
Hi, I'm Chanakya, and my film is called Mangya.
Hi, I'm Amrita. My film is called Tinctoria.
Hi, I'm Shalini, and my film is called Seeing Red.
Hi, I'm Rohin Ravindran Nair, and my film is called Coverty.
Super. Guys, well done, firstly. We live in times where, technology is going to the next level, and everybody, every cinematographer I interview and every filmmaker, they are, they want to shoot on big, big cameras. But when I watch a film like what you 4 have made, I feel like, wow, it really doesn't matter how big the camera is. You all are filmed on an iPhone. And I'm going to take you all through the journey and challenges of that. Firstly, a question about your film. Where did this germ of the story come from?
The germ of the story came from 3 different sources.
Okay.
One, of course, was this news that I had read in 2023 and 2024 again
Right,
of bird flu outbreaks in Maharashtra.
right.
And that led to massive culling, and just was just a news piece that came in.
Okay,
And I was reading a little bit more about it, but not so in depth with it.
okay.
The second was there's this documentary film called Tungrus
Yes.
by Rishi Chandana.
Yes.
So I had watched that film about 2.5 years ago, and somehow some things you watch, it remains,
Stays with you.
stays with you. And I was like, this family which has a rooster as a pet, what an
Yeah,
interesting thought, and that too it's set in Bombay.
it's beautiful.
And I was like, when this happened and then this happened, and there was this a very personal thing about losing my dog about a year ago. She was 10 years old, and I was just trying to understand. I thought, okay, animals don't have a long life, they leave. But after she left, there was a lot of process of just understanding, what does that grief mean, what does that process mean. So as I was thinking about, somehow all these 3 things came together, and I kind of formulated a thematic sort of, I would call it as sort of a short synopsis of a story idea that I had. And from there, I started developing it further.
Right.
So
Briefly,
that's
do you
how-
want to tell people what it's about?
So the story is set in the sort of backdrop of a bird flu outbreak in Maharashtra. And it's a story of an 11-year-old boy who tries to save his pet rooster from being sent away.
Right. Firstly, same question to you. Where did the first idea come from that, okay, I have to make a film, this is what I will make and shoot on an iPhone?
So, growing up in Bengal, and then we have a very strong base of literature, of local literature, right?
Yeah.
And indigo has been a big part of those stories because it's a big part of colonial India. It was a big part in Bengal when people were growing indigo, lands were drying up,
Yeah.
workers were forced to grow indigo. There are parts of Bengali cuisine that were developed at that point because people couldn't afford to grow food and they were just looking at herbs and poppy seeds and turning them into recipes, right?
Right.
So there is a history there. And because I've done my fine arts in painting, so I've always been interested in. I feel like there's not a lot of art history films per se, in a way, So pigment is always something that's interested me, and
Right.
every pigment has its own history. So I've always heard about the indigo pigment and what it did. So I was always curious to do something with it, but maybe make it more contemporary.
Right.
Like in an age where we're talking about trying to make fashion sustainable, or trying to, make our lifestyles sustainable. When we say we are wearing an indigo dyed outfit, what is the history that we're referring to?
Right.
What is the sustainability that we're referring to? So I just wanted to explore that. And using an iPhone is great because just for a story like this, one needs a very flexible medium.
Right.
We're talking about dye. The iPhone can be put in a waterproof case and put under water.
Right, yeah.
It can be put in the dye. It can be used to shoot the dye. It's such a flexible medium. So I thought that maybe this is a good training ground to experiment with narratives like this.
Right. Really enjoyed watching it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Same question to you. Where did the first idea come from that, this is what I'll make for?
As for Seeing Red, I think the idea actually came from strangely from like my processing of certain emotions in therapy. It's something that I was looking at my family, like my mother, my mother's mother, sort of looking back at the history that I come from, and that's where the whole thing started. So then this is now a period, because I was thinking of what would it have been if this had happened to my mother.
Right.
So, or my mother's mother. So it's sort of something that I took from there.
Right.
And and I just wanted to add, like, same thing, the flexible. I think the philosophically having to shoot something so from the past with a device that is so new, I felt like I felt like a whole circle, like, because my view of this whole situation is also like present, and shooting it with a device that is latest and that is like new technology, and looking at life in the 1980s, and like looking at the life of my mother or grandmother through that lens was something that was really interesting for me as a process.
Yeah, yeah. And these are all such relatable concepts, all these. Do you want to tell people where did the first idea come from?
So it was a chance chat with my friend, writer friend Vimal, and he told me he has this synopsis, and I'm a big fan of Vimal, and I really wanted to work with him. And when he told me the story, I was like, yes, I have to do it. And for a very long time, I was looking to do a romance drama, and this, sort of fell into my lap. So that's the seed of the idea.
Right. Say, again, to all four of you, you can start. The biggest advantage of shooting on an iPhone that you use personally?
I think the fact that there is something called as the action mode, and there's something which we can, especially moving shots where we wanted to go really handheld. There's an entire sequence in the film where we had to shoot it only under street lights, and we wanted 4 a.m. in the morning, and we wanted to really, really go like as many times as possible without having to worry about even a shake on the camera and stuff like that. So that's one thing that really helped in using the phone, and just the ease with which one could move around in spaces which are like public spaces, where you're not really mounting a camera and trying to like set it up again and taking time. And the second thing, also just the kind of ease and the compatibility with very many things that it can go with, even a simple thing like an ND filter, a lens, or even a Blackmagic app that we were using to use that. So I think just that the integration of several things kind of makes it a very wholesome device.
Right. Like he said, an action mode and ND filters. Anything particular that you used while filming this from the phone?
Well, for me personally, more than anything else, it was the flexibility of the iPhone. But we shot anamorphic.
Okay.
And because we shot anamorphic, we used the external lens, and we thought maybe we will not be able to put it underwater to do a shot. But we were able to, because the iPhone anamorphic, we were initially wondering if there would be some focus issues, right? But there were not. In fact, in post, I was like, oh, maybe it's a little too much in focus. And he's like, it's underwater. Maybe we should blur it out a little bit. But my primary benefit was flexibility, where there was one point of view shot of the spirits that we wanted to shoot, and I wanted it slightly blurry. It's in the film. It's a wide hold. We placed it between two bricks, so you could literally get a POV of somebody inside the bricks, right? And I don't think we can do that. The other thing is that it's not very intimidating for non-actors.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
so when there's a camera that you're facing as opposed to a phone that we're facing, our cultures are very phone friendly.
Yeah.
Everyone is, making
Yeah.
reels every day, so it's better that way. And quick turnaround time. You can shoot a lot more. We were shooting, I mean, I know 8 to 10 minutes a day.
Wow.
Because that is the kind of turnaround time that we were getting. So, yeah.
Wow. What did you use? Anything in particular?
I mean, same things as them. Like I think the flexibility is something that I cannot not mention, even if it's been
Yes.
said quite a few
Yes,
times.
yeah.
Because the ease with which, because my film is entirely within a house, and I have to get corners of the house, like inside a small room. So again, I could place the camera. We could, as a team, figure out a way where we could place the camera near a window so that we could get an angle in a small room where we could get 4 people into the frame. Also, it's an ensemble, so at every point of time, there's going to be at least 4 or 5 people in the frame. So within small spaces, how to get so many people? So we had the 13 lens. So I primarily used just the native lenses for the film, which was more than enough for me to just shoot this. And specifically, the climax shot of the film is shot on 4K 120 FPS, which was something that I had already, from the time that I knew we're going to be shooting this on iPhone, I'd already started imagining it in that way. And a couple of shots in the end are fully on 4K 120 FPS, and I think the effect that it gives for the landing of that emotion in the end, it's incredible. I really enjoyed. I was really looking forward to shooting that, and I think it's come out really well.
Wow, it has come out really well. What about you? Anything in particular?
Definitely the form factor. So my film tells a love story between a typewriter and the typist who operates it. So right from the start, we had this thing that we have to show the typewriter perspective. And my DOP suggested that why don't we open up the typewriter, place the camera, place the iPhone inside the typewriter, and that's what we did.
Wow.
So all the typewriter perspective shots are with the iPhone placed inside the typewriter.
That's really
so only the form factor would have allowed us.
Yeah, I remember shooting on an iPhone many years ago. I used to cover Hollywood red carpets, and the minute you would go with a phone, everybody would have big cameras. And the minute I had a phone, the biggest Hollywood stars would come in and just be like, they'd step back and say, "Are you really shooting on this?" So did you, when you're casting, did your actors, say, y'all discuss this? Why iPhone? And, do they take it as seriously as they would take a DSLR?
I mean, I remember when we were casting and when we were almost at the finalization stage of the cast, and I told them that it's to be shot on an iPhone. They were like, "Wow, we're very excited how you will make this." So there was a lot of eagerness in them also to come in and be a part of this whole process. That how this will be made. And I could always see that my actors, when they would look at a playback during the shoot and just to see how it's looking, they were quite amazed at the sort of outcome of the different things that we could achieve with the iPhone. Yeah.
Right. Anyone's actors or anyone on the set discuss this? Why are we doing this?
Not why are we doing this, but more like I resonate with the excitement that everybody had. And I think as a team, my DOP, all of us, the direction team, by the end of it, we were like, every day we were looking at the footage or like during the edit and all, we were like, that's it. We can make another few films. It's like almost all of us had this wild energy. Like let's go ahead. Like even now, my DOP has been texting saying, "Come back, we'll make another film quickly." Like that's what that energy. Like everybody on set was also like, if this is so easy to do it, so now the focus becomes on good storytelling and not just procuring the equipment and having the money. So now we can focus on good story. So anybody who has a good story, and the craft for storytelling and writing will improve because this becomes something that is so easily available, easily doable.
Right.
So I think that sort of excitement, and a lot of people who in and around who worked and some friends that we showed the film for perspective, they were all like, sometimes we didn't tell them that it was shot on an iPhone. Like I was just like, I made a film, can you just like, what do you think of this? And they were all like, what are you saying? This is an iPhone, and that sort of reactions did come along. So I mean, I'd say that too if I didn't make this film.
Right. Yeah. One of you faced any limitations because you don't have a big camera? Any limitations that you could have done differently if you had a camera?
I mean, for me personally, that I always knew I was going to shoot this on an iPhone,
You're
right? So we
prepared.
designed it accordingly. But I think in the larger perspective, what was interesting is that in my head, I have started to now, when I think of stories or write, I started to decide, should I shoot this on an iPhone or should I shoot this on the other camera? So
Yeah.
the beauty is that it's not intending to replace another medium, but just to kind of coexist with it, so we can tailor stories
Right.
and then pick our camera.
Good. All the people behind DSLRs are happy with that answer. Thank you. Any limitations that you thought that
I'm a trained DP, and
Right.
initially I was very worried that how we are going to pull focus, because when we're shooting on a typical film camera, you
Yes.
have a focus puller.
Correct.
And the first thing which my DP told me is कि boss, don't worry, अभी आज की डेट में there's a Bluetooth technology, so you can connect your iPhone to a Bluetooth device, and there's a external device through which you can pull focus like a normal digital film camera. And I was totally blown away. So there were so many focus pulls in my film, and it was just possible because of the technology.
Anyone watching this and watching your films will be like, okay, chalo, I also can make and I also would like to make. What would your advice, few tips that for them that you would like to give if they're going ahead and shooting on an iPhone?
I would say, firstly, I think plus one to Shalini's point about the story. Like, get the story there if you have a story to tell. I think I also looked at a lot of videos that are there on iPhone 16 Pro and using it in filming and in even in video. And I think it would be good for people to first just get a hands-on with the equipment itself, with the phone itself. Just spend some time. I would say play around with it.
Right.
Just play around, make the mistakes, see what you're learning, see what new things you're discovering, and then go in with that. And I feel that is a great thing that one can do with a phone, right? Because if you were to go and take a camera, you were hiring it on a per day basis.
Right.
So unless you went to a film school to learn it, you know. But if you really want to just take the phone and explore and have an idea, take it, play around with it. Try things, and then take that time and then go into your final
Yeah,
shoot.
that's
what I
great
would
advice.
say.
Starting, just play with it and see the potential, what all it can do. What would you like to tell the next generation of MAMI Select shot on an iPhone?
Of course, primarily research, design your film around it. But I would say don't think of it as a phone film. I think there is this inherent psychology that we have. कि यार phone पे film बना रहे हैं ना, phone पे है. Don't think of it. Mount it like a real film.
Right.
Mount it like how you would mount any other film. And then, of course, basis the research, tweak it. We tend to take phone films very lightly.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I think the future is in more accessibility. So consider it a big time serious film
Right.
and tailor your technology around it.
Right. Have that vision. Right. What would you like to tell them? Yeah.
Honestly, I think they've covered the points, but mostly I would say, I was going to say the same thing. I don't think there should be any fear around the fact that, fear or judgment around the fact that this is
It's
a
a
phone.
right.
Sometimes it can be fear because you like, what are these technology? Like, there's a lot you can do with the iPhone, lot of gears, lot of, apps, lot of things you can explore in it. And I think for somebody like me who, I think the minute some technical words are thrown at me, sometimes I just go blank.
Right.
So I think I'm coming from personal experience of like having fear in the beginning, and then by the end of it, I know that I don't think you should be afraid to explore any of this. Like he said, do the research or get the people. There's so much help around online. There are so many people who can tell you. There are so many people around in our circles who can help us with all of this.
Right.
So I feel like getting a good team,
Yes.
getting good support for what you're doing is primary. Does not matter if you don't know enough about the phone or the camera or the technical things. Everything will fall in place as when you have a good supportive team and good mentors.
Right.
So all that will be available.
Yeah, I'll come to the mentors. You gave them a great advice earlier that, Bluetooth and the focus pulling thing. Anything else do you want to tell that they can use when they're filming, they're starting out?
So I think there's so many modes on an iPhone. The slow motion mode, the image stabilization is just amazing. So I think it's extremely liberating as a filmmaker, and it allows us as a filmmaker who are forced to shoot so many pages a day to shoot very fast. So and proof is out there. Filmmakers right from Park Chan Wook to say my hero like Sean Baker. They have shot such polar opposite films on an iPhone. So the proof is already there.
So you all had mentors. Tell me, who was your mentor and what is the best advice that came from your mentor?
My mentor was Konkana Singh Sharma.
Nice. Yeah.
And the best advice that came from her was make the film you want to make. We are constantly going to be in conversation. We'll talk about it. I'll give you suggestions. I'll give you ideas, everything. But eventually, you need to go back to what was the seed of the idea.
Yeah.
What is it that you wanted to make? Stay true to that. Stay true to that vision. And I think that was amazing because
yeah.
I think that really helped. And even at the script writing stages, I would say it was a great amount of learning and unlearning because when one goes in with a script, one is also kind of fixed with certain frameworks, right?
Right.
The script is there, so now you start thinking within that framework.
Right.
But I think what Konkana really helped me was to also break out of it
Hmm.
and then come back to it,
Right.
so that you don't lose what you wrote, but you just find new ways to kind of come back to it.
Amazing.
So
That's what a
that's
great mentor, anyway. Who was your mentor? And also tell people, what do mentors? Can you call them midway? Like, what do mentors exactly do for you?
My mentor was Vikramaditya Motwane.
Woo!
And what an incredible mentor. He was also, so of course we can obviously call them whenever we want and message, and at least I had that access and that generosity from my mentor. And the biggest thing I learned from him, and which I think was such he held on to it so incredibly, was taking one thread and running with it, like that, having that clarity, because I made a film that's layered and I ended up having a lot of threads in it.
Right.
So at the edit stage, to have the clarity, to have the brevity of that, just constantly separate fat from muscle and be like, okay, take one thread and run with it. That has been such an incredible advice from him, because I was just at one point, when you don't get distance from your footage, or when it's timelines are super tight, you need someone to have that aerial perspective on your film and say like, okay, but you know what, this is the thread that's working the best, so just run with this. That constant reminder. And just I could go to him without any worries about, oh, it's not a finished, I'm showing him a rough cut, oh, the sound is not done, because he's such an inherently flexible artist himself.
yes,
He gets
yeah.
it. So I couldn't have asked for a better person to anchor me through this.
Amazing. Yeah. Who was your mentor and what came from them?
My mentor is Vetrimaran sir.
Wow.
Sir, and I think the best advice. I think a lot of them were great. I think he was so to the point. And of course, anytime I needed any help, I could reach out to him. He's a very busy person, but he always made time. I think it showed that he really, really cared. All his suggestions, all his opinions came from like really wanting to make me do the best film that I can.
Amazing. Could you tell us like one suggestion that he gave that changed things?
I think the fact that he, first of all, like I think he had seen my earlier film, which was also shot on an iPhone 15 Pro. I just made a short film, 3-minute short film, and he saw that, and also having spoken to me, he kind of modeled. He said, "This is your." He kind of told me what my voice is.
Okay.
Like he said, "This is sounding like your voice, so maybe you should shape your film like this.
Right.
This kind of a narrative would work for you." And I think the best advice was for him to tell me that, see, you're making a very different. I'm making a Tamil film.
Right.
It's not. It's a very Tamil. How do I say, Tamil-blooded film? Like it's something that I've grown up seeing. It's not technically a festival film. You don't categorize like that, but I know how it's different. And I think his best advice was to slap that genre right on the poster everywhere, saying he just tell them it's a slapstick satire, because the international audience might not understand the cultural way to look at a film. How I see a film in Chennai is not how anybody else will view it.
True.
So his best advice was to say, let them know that this is a slapstick satire, so that when they see, they know what they're subscribing to.
Right. That's great advice.
That was great advice. Yeah.
Right. Who was your mentor and what big advice that you took?
So my mentor was Lijo Jus Palliseri,
Super, right.
and I'm a big fan of him.
Yeah.
There was just one very specific advice which he told me. He said, there's the typewriter in the film, and the film is told from the typewriter's perspective. So he told me, initially I was thinking that the typewriter will also have a human voice. So he told me that, Rohin, that might be the easy route. Why don't you try to avoid that, and maybe, through sound and other mediums of, filmmaking, try to convey that.
Wow.
And the moment he told me that, it gave me a lot of clarity, and I was also worried how do I do that? How am I going to achieve in this sort of timeline? But me and my writer friend, we worked a way through it, and I think that was the best advice which he gave me, and it really, really helped the film.
Wow. Aren't you like, but thrown off track? If you had something in mind that you wanted to make, suddenly here's your mentor telling you, no, this is the most easy thing to do something difficult. Then how do you change gears?
No, so I knew it was coming from a very good place, and I also knew that I was maybe trying to cut corners by giving it a human voice, and I knew it would be a very easy way out. And when he told me that, I also sensed that maybe I was cutting corners, and
Right.
I should do the hard work.
Right. All of y'all had great mentors. I just have one question about them. That which is your favorite work of your mentor that you are a big fan of?
I loved Konkana's short film, The Mirror, which she made.
Right.
And of course, Death in the Gunch.
Yeah.
But I would say I would choose Mirror over. Just if I were to pick
Yeah.
one.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Vikram.
Udan, Lutere,
Yeah.
and Black Warrant. I mean, he's such a.
Naming everything that he's done.
He's done
Right.
8-9
Yes.
projects in 10 years. How
If you were
prolific.
to putting you in a spot, if you were to pick one,
Lutere.
yeah. Which one of your mentors?
How to pick, I don't know. But Articulum, of course.
Yeah.
But I think personally my favorite is Paul Ladhavan.
Nice.
His first film. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
Imayu.
Right, super. Y'all are really lucky to be in this place where you all had access to such, veterans, and so they're so great in their craft. What we didn't cover earlier was that, people are thinking we just take the iPhone and go. What all, are there gimbals? What apps to use to edit? Do you want to guide them a little bit more about what you used? What all they can also use?
I mean, we used the similar thing what Rohin was talking about, the using a Bluetooth for the
Sure.
focus
Right.
pulling. And of course, we also use the iPad as a monitor.
Okay, that's
and
interesting.
That
Yeah.
was useful. That was, again, needs some connections for it to sort of interact with the
Okay.
phone. But that setup was managed very well by the
Wow.
camera team.
Okay.
And I would say, so I think iPad as a monitor, and I would say also like just focus pulling, and we also
Okay.
used a gimbal.
Okay.
We used a camera gimbal, but we sort of mounted the phone on that.
Okay,
So we used that also.
Right.
So,
Anything else that you want to add? Any apps that they can use just to, maybe post up or while shooting?
Yeah, so I believe it's true for the others also.
Sure.
We used the Blackmagic app
Nice,
for sure.
yeah.
And I also had an Osmo. There was an Osmo and a gimbal.
Yeah.
And of course the waterproof kit, because I wanted to
Yes.
put the phone in water into everything with that.
Right.
And I did make posters on Procreate on the iPad. And the iPad also are great reference for grade. So for
Right.
example, even during the DCP check, to use the iPad and the laptop,
Yeah.
the MacBook Pro for grade references, and of course editing on the MacBook Pro, which was editing 4K footage live is just the speeds are phenomenal.
Right. Yeah. Anything gimbals and apps?
Yeah, we used the same, the focus pulling and a Ronin gimbal. And I think, like she said earlier, not thinking of it as a phone camera and mounting it on a track and trolley and just going about like it's a regular camera. I did use track and trolley in our film. Otherwise, I think one of the interesting things was that because it's a phone, like every time we went to Recce, and I went like quite a few number of times, I could shoot on my phone.
Yeah.
And I could really get the same angles I wanted. Like when I came back, I could place in the same angles. So I think that was
Nice.
very useful. And across the iPad and MacBook, I could always come back, edit like something and see, and then quickly transfer it to that. And that was the interface was so, like you can move from one thing to another so easily.
Right.
And I think that was very useful. And of course, like in the post, I think taking a lot of outputs on the MacBook and the speed at which I got an output, which was very important for me because I had to take an output, show it to Vetrimaran sir, then bring
Yes.
it back. And then multiple outputs were running. And that speed really, really added a lot of value. So I feel like that's something was very useful.
Right. What I'll ask you is, not having that eye view and the darkness of a viewfinder, does it take time that, okay, now I have to watch it on a phone?
No, not really.
Okay.
Because we are getting a very better image. It's a OLED screen, so that I think compensates for that.
And what did you use?
So besides the Blackmagic, the
Right.
Bluetooth for focus pulling, we also shot on anamorphic, and I think we used Moment. There's this company called Moment, so we
Okay.
used their anamorphic set and also their spherical set.
Right.
So we had like from 14, 18 right up till a tele lens which was 58.
Great. Guys, y'all are raising the bar and telling such amazing stories just shooting with this. So congratulations and well done. I thoroughly enjoyed all your movies, so I can't wait for more people to watch these. Thank you so much and all the very best.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
Thank you.
much.